What's up, y'all? This is MVP with Juxtaposed. Today, we're going to rethink success beyond money and status. Stay tuned. All right. What's up, K Styles?
What's the word?
Nothing much. This is MVP, Juxtaposed. And so I came across a clip, Styles,
Okay.
and it was Will Smith. Remember that guy?
Big Willie style?
I feel like he kind of fell back after the slap that was heard across the world.
Did he though? Because I feel like he came out with his music after that was very prominent and he was big on social. So
You think so?
yeah, I think there was a
Okay.
couple months of silence, and then he, I feel like he started the apology campaign and it worked out. But
Okay.
go
Well,
ahead.
he showed up on Drink Champs.
Okay.
And he said something that was interesting to me. And it was basically about being successful and how, and I think people have heard this saying, it's lonely at the top.
Mm-hmm.
It, based on what he was saying, it kind of made me feel like that's what he was referencing. But we have a special treat for y'all. We have the clip. And
Okay.
so I want us to listen to the clip and then let's discuss exactly what he's talking about when it comes to success and money.
Sounds good. I have not seen it yet, so
Yes.
I'm intrigued to hear this. But let's go.
Okay.
I've said before, like people talk about rock bottom, that when you hit rock bottom is when you'll make a change.
Talking about drugs?
Yeah, like drugs. People say
Well,
drugs
life,
and rock
in life,
bottom.
yeah,
In life.
rock bottom.
Yeah, rock
We love
bottom in
drugs.
life.
Right.
Yeah, but yeah, it is like people say it in AA talking about rock bottom.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a corresponding place that I call cliff top, right?
Like you could be too high.
Where you get so high that you realize literally none of the stuff can make you happy. Right. After you can get to the end of the material world. You get to the end of money. You get to the end of sex. You get to the end of fame. You have so much, and then you go off of a cliff into the same kind of abyss that you'd be scared of slipping into at rock bottom. Right, where life loses all of its ability to sustain and please you.
Right.
And then the only thing that's left, the same thing at rock bottom, the only thing that's left at cliff top is you have to find what you're actually looking for, and what you're actually looking for is you. You're looking for you. You're running around. Right? When you like a woman and you like being with a woman, it's because you like how you feel.
Right.
You like what's happening inside of you. When you have money, it's like, yeah, it's cool to buy things, but it's not the money. You like how you feel inside.
Right.
It's unleashing a feeling inside. And at rock bottom and at cliff top, what you have to learn how to do is generate that feeling without anything external. You have to learn how to like you so much that you like being alive so much that you bring positive energy that's not generated by stuff, right? Because stuff is coming and going.
Right.
Like people are coming and going. Everything you have and everybody you love is going to rise and fall in your life. The place that we have to find is a spiritual place where we are good with us. We trust us. I trust myself. I trust God, and I trust life, that whatever happens, I'm going to make happy out of it. I don't need specific things to happen.
Deep, right?
That's very deep. But yeah, go ahead.
So with this, I've already seen the clip. This is your initial reaction. And this is just, there's no wrong or right. Just your initial reaction. What do you think?
I think he hit on to something that's very important, and it gave us the other side of the coin that we're not usually able to see, which is what it feels like at the highs, right? Like the success, to have everything that is what a lot of people equate their driving force. Like having the money to buy everything, having the success and people know your name and the validation, the external validation, having it at the height that he has it as had. I mean, well, if you say Will Smith, you know who you're talking about,
Right. We know Will Smith.
And to know that he still, kind of has those feelings around like, finding himself and being true to himself means that the external things are not the important part.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm jumping in a way probably deeper based on just like my first initial reaction, but like the thing for me was just like it is interesting to see that be a thing, because as people who have not necessarily attained that level of success yet, we tell ourselves that once we get to that, then
we'll be happy.
We'll be good.
Yeah.
And that goes back to like a J. Cole song. He's like, he's like, essentially he preferred to be broke or something. I forgot the reference in the chat that in the message he was in the rap that he was doing, and it was like, essentially like it's not all as cracked up to be on the other side. And he's like, yeah, but as to somebody who's like grinding it on a regular basis, you're telling me this is it? Like you're telling me like this is all like this is the best it's gonna be? So I don't know. I have a lot of feelings about this. So what are your thoughts?
So my initial thoughts, first, the fact that I've never heard cliff top.
Yeah.
Right. I've heard of rock. Everybody's heard of rock bottom. Right. And I'm pretty sure he just gave it a name. Right. But I'm like, okay, one, I never heard of this. Second, oh, this exists. The fact that it exists, that you can be so high up that, and like I said, the whole, it's lonely at the top, but you can be so high up that if you're not grounded, which sounds crazy, right? Grounded enough with yourself, like Will was saying, that you can still feel the same way you would feel if you were rock bottom, right? So I'm like, yo, with the fact that that's an actual thing, right? And the way he's explaining it, it has me thinking, okay, maybe we need to rethink what success is. Because with Will, I'm surprised to even hear this, right? You would think, oh, he has, family, loving family, wife, kids, the whole American dream. If, he has fame, he has money, he's able to do the things he's passionate about. I mean, I think there was moments where he was like jumping off of cliffs or something, like so he's living his best life, you would think. But for him to even dive into that train of thought, that tells me there's moments where all that stuff doesn't really matter if he's not grounded within himself. And I think there's a space where he actually became grounded with himself, and that's why he's even able to articulate this with us, right? So this is how we're going to start off the conversation, right? With the Will Smith thing, keep that in the back of the mind, y'all. Why do you think traditional definition of success, like, why do you think that's like a thing right now? Like, why do you think, like, for example, wealth, job titles, or social status, like, why do you think that idea has dominated so long in society?
Because it's the driving force, right? Like, it's like, I think of it like, whether you grew up in a Christian or a church based religion, you are fed a certain level or for certain guidelines of morality, right? Like, thou shalt not kill, like all of these things, right? And I think that if we think about success and the drive, especially in this society that we have here, the drive for more money has always been the thing. And more money, validation. Some people want to be rich and famous. Some people want, like, there's all of these things have been the driving force, and it's defined our society. And we think about it, where it's actually the focus happens because we see people like a Will Smith, how we admire them to the point where we want to be like that. And you see it all the time, and you see it in the place where you realize everybody wants some level of notoriety. In most cases, people don't want to live their lives a complete nobody. Nobody knows nobody. Like you see that people, they really, really aspire to. And it comes back from the like hunter gatherer time. You want to be part of the pack. You want to be, a part of something. Mm-hmm. And I think at the core of a lot of it, the reason why this stuff has been very prominent, it's set up as a structure for us to want for more stuff, like for us to achieve stuff. I mean, think about it. We've all had friends or acquaintances that we saw that are just like, for lack of a better word, bums. Like they don't do anything, they don't achieve anything, and you don't want to be like that because you hear what people from a very young age. You hear what people say about people who are deadbeats, deadbeat fathers, deadbeat parents, whatever, right? Or losers, like from we've been indoctrinated with all of these things of what it means to be a valuable member of society. Yeah. And I think at the core, it leads to a lot of these conversations where it's literally you have to provide value at all times or you're not valuable. So that's my long answer to that. I do think it's a little bit more nuanced than all the stuff I said, but I do think at the core, the reason why it's so prevalent is because it's the structure in which we have defined our value.
Yeah.
So
yeah, because I'll contribute to that. I think at least for me, from a young age, I've been taught that, hey, what these things look like, right? Mm-hmm. Hey, I'm black, right?
No.
So if y'all can tell, I'm black. So one of the big things that I feel like you have to have as a black man is a nice car. In the hood, at least when I was growing up, having a nice car was a sign of status.
Yeah.
Right?
I would say that.
Okay, boom. You got to have the nicest shoes. Your shoes have to be some type of brand. If you came through the school with Payless shoes on, you would get cooked thoroughly. But, hey, there are nice shoes that are not exactly, brand names. As long as the shoe is nice and like it gets you from point A to point B and got holes and all beat up or whatever, you should be able to wear whatever shoes you want.
But that's we're uncovering a whole deep layer there. Mm-hmm. I think as black people, as a result of us being in a place where our identity has always been considered less than, right? And I know people feel like, I'm not trying to play like the race card or anything like that. I'm just saying that there's a lot of things in history that have made black people feel like they're less. So the reason why that was a thing, or you needed to have these things, is because we're using it as a space to say, look, I'm better than the average person because I have these things. I have these definable things of what, successful people have. And if you look at it truthfully, when you really get down to it, like Warren Buffett is one of the richest people in the world. Mm-hmm. And how he spends his money is very clear why he's one of the richest people. He doesn't, all the extra shit that we care about, he doesn't care about. He can literally buy every Nike in the world. He probably wears the same 3.
Well, I mean, people have gave an example. It's actually funny. What's the guy name? The one who never gets tired. The rapper. He never
gets tired.
Yeah, he never. You remember that song? Oh, no. Never get tired. The guy who always walks around with an Indian feather in his head.
Kevin Gates.
Kevin Gates. There you go. He never get tired. You know that song.
I never heard that one. No.
You never heard the song?
No, I never. So that threw me off.
Interesting. There. So anyway, him and this comedian guy, Jack Black, were at a basketball game, and I saw a little meme, and it was like, yo, for example, Jack Black is worth $40 million, something like that, and then it was like Kevin Gates is worth $6 million, and Jack Black was in the most laid back, just not a great outfit. I ain't gonna lie. was the great outfit. But it was him being comfortable in whatever outfit he wanted to wear. And then you see Kevin Gates and, he got all the chains and he got all the da-da-da-da. And they're comparing it to, hey, you got someone who's rich, who has so much money, but he doesn't look like he's rich. And so I'm like, yeah, there is a level, at least me growing up. I mean, even how I dress now has been influenced by me growing up, right? Like, I do like to look nice. I'm not necessarily trying to look like I have money, but I do like to look nice. And my vision of nice looking has been this, right? So it's interesting to see someone like Mark Zuckerberg wear the same 3 pairs of shorts, sandals with his toes out. Ugh. And I'm like, he's worth all this money. You would look at him and probably think he's not successful.
But there's a different standard. There's a standard, and this, as we talk about like redefining success, there's a standard I feel for us that you have to be put together a certain way in order for people to actually even believe that you are what you say you are, right? Like, I think that if Jack Black was black, I have to say that.
Yeah, say that 5 times.
If Jack Black was black, he operated that way. I think there's a place in society outside of just like people who knew him that would consider him to be less successful. And I think one of the areas you see that very clearly is like, I remember Shaq told a story about one time he went into a Bentley dealership and the salesperson kind of played him a little bit. He's like, oh, you know how much this costs? And he bought like 5 of them. Now, I think that was a little excessive, but you get it. Like, and truthfully, I think there's a space where, because of the historical nature of some of our interactions with other races and other, demographics, I feel like there's a space where people see somebody's not put together or not not all right, and you assume that they're just not even able to be successful or whatever. So I do think that there's a lot to that I don't necessarily. I think it's going to be like a longer conversation to dive into.
Yeah. So I guess that leads me to, what do you think? Well, one, do you think social media contributes to this idea of success in today's society?
I think that it is something that was already happening.
Okay.
So I think it was happening already, but the success, it was the availability or the consumption of it was in controlled mediums, right? So like before it was like TV, it was in print, it was in magazines, and it was, whereas now we can consume way more stuff in the short time period. Like if you open your phone and swipe 4 times, you would see way more things and than you would at any point in history. So I don't think social media is like the cause of it. I do think it does. It's like the fire that the gas you bring that you throw in the fire. So like I feel like this was already there. I think when we start looking at like the other, like the standards of beauty and success and all of these things that are very prevalent before we introduce social media, I feel like social media is just like gas that we threw on top of that fire.
Okay.
So that I know we bash a lot of social media for its negative things, but like I can't put that all on social media because some of this stuff I feel like existed before that.
Yeah, I didn't think about the whole TV, all these other things, movies. But I think one of the things with me, at least for social media, is you have the ability to see people you might view as peers. Because at least with movies and TV, it was more like someone I would say, quote unquote, out of reach, right? Like a celebrity. But now you can kind of see people like, whoever it is that might be like your age or in your hometown or whatever. And you'll see the things they post on Instagram and, well, social media, but Instagram, let's use that. And I'm like, I remember hearing someone say like, yeah, but you got to take into consideration people are posting their best version of themselves.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Right?
No one wants to see. I mean, and there is a space for that happens, but on average, no one wants to see your shitty day.
Actually, yeah.
Like I'm already having what could be considered a not a great day, and then I come on the thing to see you're also having like you're trying to up
like band for band. Like, hey, my day is way worse than your day.
Yeah, no, I don't need to be in that. We don't need to have those kind of competition there going on.
Yeah.
So
do you think, because this is leading me to the thought of like, do you think there's a downside to that? So let me give you an example of what an upside might be, right?
Mm-hmm.
You might see that and get motivated to, be better, right? Or you could see that and it actually depresses you. It makes you think, oh, I'm not valuable, and let me just fall into the background and don't be in nobody's face because I'm a loser, right? So do you think there's a downside with TV, movies, social media? Do you think there's a downside to being able to see all these things from a success standpoint?
I would say yes, but then truthfully, to go back to Will Smith's point, it has the one constant in all of that is you. How you see you, how you value you is the important part, because it shouldn't matter what other people are doing, because you know what you're about. And I remember, not to bring this guy up because he kind of in a space where he irritates me these days, but like I remember Meek Mill would like post things. He's like, yeah, I'm doing this for motivation. And I'm like, who are you motivating? You're not doing it for motivation. You're doing it to stunt. You're doing it to show that like, yo, I got this thing. And I don't know if there's an aspect of like you can do it too, because that part of the message I always missed. But it did feel like there was a little bit of like, yeah, I want to show that I'm like I made it and I'm up there, and I'm like, but what do you send into the message are you sending to the people who may not be able to do that?
Mm-hmm.
So
that they're less than or something.
But I think it's a you thing. I think at the core of it, we've spent a whole time fracturing our identity to be what other people think we should be. And I think what Will Smith was saying, is accurate. Like, you have to be happy with you at any phase, whether you're fat, you're skinny, you're ugly, you're, handsome or beautiful. Like, you have to be happy with you and know that you have work to do, but know that it's way easier to think about life if you're happy where you're at least happy with what you've achieved.
Well, then let me ask you this question then. If we're saying you have to be happy with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think there's a level, and I would ask you this question, and y'all as viewing and listening too, ask yourself this question and comment wherever you comment. Have you ever chased a version of success that really wasn't you, right? If you're saying, hey, this is me, and people might interpret that, well, then let me do certain things to make me feel like more successful. But it wasn't really them, right? Yeah. So first part of the question is, have you ever done that in your life?
Yes,
Tried
100%.
to? Okay. Give us an example.
I mean, I think that there's just one of those things where I don't know, I'm trying to think of one example, but like there's been times when I've dedicated my whole life to my day job because I thought that, well, at least I'll be on the path to getting promoted, and I'll be on the path to getting somewhere. And then, 2 years into that, the little company goes out of business completely. And at that point, it's like, well, what does it do there? Like, literally, there's nothing. The thing that I thought was success doesn't even have a way to go. It's gone. So,
and your receipts are gone too.
And I was like, what am I to do with that? So I think that one of the things, and I might be jumping ahead, but one of the things that we need to do as humans is really spend time focusing on what makes you happy, what makes you. And this is something, like, I'm saying this strongly, like I did not have a conversation with you just like a couple of days ago where I was complaining that I don't think I'm doing stuff well.
Okay.
Right? So like, just being honest, like, I think this is like the constant thing. Like, I think we always think about happiness as or even success as a light switch. Like, oh, you get it, you're good to go. It's like, no, this is like, it's a, to use the words of Kanye, it's a choice, right?
Mhm.
And though when he used that, I think it was a bad choice. But you know, it's a choice. You choose to feel that way. Now, I could see people saying, well, you know, what about people who have like chemical imbalances that, you know, they're not able to process things the same way, right?
Mhm.
I can't speak to that.
Yeah, that's hard to speak to.
I can't speak to that, but I can say, without going to like, oh, 100% this is the case. I think in most condition or most spaces, you can respond to things in a way that you choose that can give you the outcome that's better, and that's easy to say. Like one of the conversations I had with one of my guys recently, there was a viral video about this woman calling somebody's kid the N-word, right? And
That's tough.
Aaron, actually, who was in the group with us, was like, yeah, we need to stop letting that word have the same level of control, because what it is at this point now is that you feel like they're using it to bait you into like a response.
Okay.
And I'm like, I agree, but at the same time, it's very easy for us to have the conversation now when we're not in the situation. Like, if I don't have kids, but if somebody called my kid that,
Yeah, and obviously it's meant for disrespect.
like, how do I deal with that?
Yeah.
Now, I was jokingly saying that we need to make sure we take a picture of that person and destroy them on the internet. That's a different like that's the
That's
level
the move
of petty
nowadays.
I think that
Anyway.
that's a level of petty that,
Yeah.
that doesn't get me locked up in jail. I think this was based off of there was a story where this guy had this cop has killed this dude's son or kid, and
Okay.
he essentially, like, I guess he ran the cop over with a car and killed the cop.
Oh, I
Yeah.
saw a brief.
Yeah. And
things
so
of
I think that
it,
led
yeah.
us to it led to that like, well, what do you do in that situation? So to bring that all back in, I
Mhm.
think that at the core of it, we have an opportunity in every situation to control or to use the situation as a lesson, right? Or
Mhm.
and it's hard. I'm not gonna sit here and say, like, I don't want to be one of those podcasts, you know, motivational people. You could do everything you think. No. Like, I'm saying at the core of it, in a situation, you choose to interpret how that goes, right?
Mhm.
And that's why they always say it's your story, their story, and the truth, right? Like, there's your interpretation of how I say. Like, I'd be like, Nick, your
He's
shirt.
He's looking me up and down
I'm
right
trying
now.
to find something.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like he's about to go on me.
I'll be like, yo, your green is kind of green, right? Like, and if we weren't cool, you might like, yo, what's up with this dude, right? Like,
Yeah.
we could go somewhere, a whole different realm, and I'm just like, nah, your green is green, like, you know.
Mhm.
And I think that's where it's like we relinquish our control a lot of times in situations because of external motivations, external things. And it's a human thing because we do not want to be the loser. We do not want to be the person called out for something stupid. So
Yeah, that goes for me. How I was when I was growing up. My version of trying to be successful, and maybe it wasn't necessarily me, was, I think, as I got older, rooted in trying to impress my friends. Because even successful, like, say successful with women, right? I'm not normally the type of guy who goes out and just like go holler at everything, right? But if I'm with the fellas to impress them, I'll probably go holler at the joints, right? When I was younger. I would say that was a version of me of like, oh yeah, I'm cool. I can
do
fit
this
in the
too,
group. Look, watch me go talk to this girl, right? So,
and some of those things go in so even deeper. Like, if you think about, there are people who drink because they want to show they're cool.
Peer
People
pressure.
who use drugs that, like, can impact their whole life because somebody did it. Smoke cigarettes. The list is long.
right. Oh, you don't do shrooms?
Yeah.
You never did? Oh man, you got it. And then if you're not, and this goes back to what Will was saying, if you're not understanding who you are, hey, if you don't do drugs, you don't drink, you're an introvert or whatever it is, if that's the person you want to be, then be that person.
But it's, you have to develop a very thick skin for some of this stuff too, because their opinions are they pass it out like the flyers when someone's trying to sell something all the time, right? Like
Mhm.
I saw a clip recently. I don't know if I sent it to you. It was talking about Jaden Daniels.
Jaden Daniels, okay.
Yeah, and
I mean, hold on. He's talking about the Commander, so let's see where
that-
he's going
no,
with
no,
this.
I was kind of
Put
mad
some
at
respect on his name. Hold on.
mad at the dude's comment because he was
Okay.
like, "Yo, his mother needs to give him some space."
Oh, this thing again.
And
Yeah.
oh, he you know he's this age and he did it, and I'm like, bro, we complain when the man pulls a Shannon Sharp, right? We complain when he does something off the. I don't want to. That was kind of an unnecessary shot at Shannon.
Yeah,
but
I get
you
what you-
complain when they do certain things. You complain when there's a support system to help
Dude.
move us different, avoid some of this stuff.
Mhm.
So it's like you have to, like, I was just like, what do you care? If he has his setup with his mom, where his mom controls the stuff and protects him from some of the stuff, as someone who probably invested a ton into his life,
Loves him.
and you know that when you're out there and people know your name, people you can't trust majority of people.
So you hit a trigger for me. It's not only that, but we've seen so many cases where guys his age, in my opinion, get taken advantage of.
Mm-hmm.
Now I've had some fellas tell me, well, he a grown man, he can't get taken advantage of, and I'm like, it's weird when people like, yo, this person's a young person whose mind's still developing, but it only is that when it serves whatever argument they're trying to have, right?
Yeah.
Because if he was out here doing whatever and he gets caught up in some flashing guns on TV,
Where's his parents
or
at?
where his parents at,
Yeah.
or hey, he's messing around with these women and he gets into situations that he don't want to be in, I'm like, yo, there's an issue with that. So yeah, I feel like it's like damned if you do, damned if you don't,
Yeah,
right?
100%.
Like, yo, if his mom wasn't, or let's just say parents, if it's because his dad is involved too, right? His dad is involved in his life. If they weren't a part of it and he was doing, silly things, unacceptable things, everybody be like, where the parents at? But now that we actually have a version of parents being there for the kid, and people are upset about that. So,
But I do want, this go to kind of bring it back to the success thing. I think that because society has, or not just success, about social media. I think because social media has made it such an interesting thing for people to give their opinions and stuff, we're hearing way more about people's opinions on things that we wouldn't have access to. And that's the one negative thing. I think if we think about all the things that governed us growing up, right? Like, you were limited to the group of people that you were interacting with. So that's your schoolmates, your family. Now, kids on the internet are now exposed to ideas from people in Wichita, right? Like,
yeah.
and that's a scary place, especially now too, where I feel like at the core, what we end up with is the large question is, who is directing these conversations? Like, how are we deriving what is successful? What is the thing that matters? How do we? Who's making that up now?
Well, let's jump into that because, okay, I'm start throwing things out, right? And we can kind of real quickly put them into buckets, right? So, for example, being free, I think, is a level of success. Now, what I mean by that is, growing up, you're more under your parents, right? For people, who everybody's situation is different, but let's just keep it like a standard general, right? So, boom, you're under your parents. One of my first examples to myself of freedom was when I went to college, and I realized there's nobody.
You're on your own now. Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah,
Right?
you're on your own now.
I'm on my own, right?
Yeah.
So, and then that can keep going up, right? I think money does give you the ability to have more freedom in a sense of like, hey, if I want to say travel, right? Sometimes you can't travel because you don't have enough money to make that happen. But if I have enough money to travel, that's a sense of freedom, I think, right? Okay, boom. They say, let's not use wealth. let's use, because I think wealth goes into another bucket, right? So we put freedom in one bucket, wealth into another bucket. A sense of love, right? Could that be viewed as successful? Like, hey, I actually have the love, like actual core love that I know these people love me, of family, friends, maybe a significant other, your kids, or if you don't have none of that, are you not successful? Because I don't even think people even add that into the success bucket. It's usually money, status, fame, material things, right? I don't necessarily look at love as a material thing. So when I pose the question, okay, what outside of the norms, what success looks like, I can say love, freedom. What you think?
Yeah.
Do you have anything that like you would consider not necessarily
Like me personally, or just
no, you personally, not necessarily in the bucket of wealth,
material things,
like material things. Like, do you have anything
cars,
like do you have anything outside of that you think, okay, this is successful, but people don't talk about it a lot? Like, this is a version of success, I guess.
I would say health, bro. I think a lot of people overlook
that's a good one.
The importance of like taking care of your health and like what that means from a longevity standpoint. Like, I think that is I mean, we always hear health is wealth, and some of these things become so buzzworthy that people don't realize. No, it's a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a real thing, bro. Because like, there's a lot of people that are probably in a hospital somewhere, wanting to do what you can do right now, and you're taking it for granted. So that would be one that I think that I know it should always be considered success. And honestly, I think that there's a divide there too, because you could still have physical ailments or whatever and still be able to find success. I think we shouldn't look at success as a binary thing, and I think that's one of the biggest things. I think if we changed our mentality from, I don't know, because we're talking about Jana Daniels and I want to use a sports analogy. If we took it from every time success is only being having a Super Bowl ring, to it's not just winning the games, it's every catch or everything you learn. Or if we change the game from it being like this grandiose, like, oh, you have to knock it out the park every time, to like, no, imagine you just get up every day and you get to do what you love to do without friction. Like,
that's a version of success to me.
I think that is success. I think a lot of people have not stopped and defined success for themselves. So as a result of that, you ever seen Italian Job?
I feel like I have. I keep getting it confused with Bank Job.
No. I think it's Italian Job.
Okay.
Where it was Matt Wahlberg and a bunch of people. They were essentially using the Mini Coopers to steal.
Oh yeah. I think Jason Statham was in that too, wasn't he?
Statham, yeah, he was
Statham?
in there. He was in there. Most definitely, it was a bunch of people. But the reason why I bring it up is because the main villain in that story, heard what everybody else wanted to do with their money.
Okay.
And he went and he got one of everything from everybody because he didn't have his own dream. And I think
I remember that. And they were like, why did you
even like this? Yeah, but to think about it, that's what we've done from a societal perspective. We sit there and say, hey, success to me means doing what MVP is doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, no, unless we align. And that's where you end up with a lot of jealousy too. It's like, oh, he's doing it, and that's something I could do better.
So, that actually has me thinking, right? Because we've been kind of, talking around this, but let's address the dog in the room. Say nah, JK. Address the elephant in the room. Money. Mm-hmm. Okay. So we would like to say, hey, money isn't everything, right? I can understand that. But money is still required.
Yeah.
So I just want to get your initial thoughts, and we can go deeper, but your initial thoughts on money and success.
I think that is like anything else should be considered a tool, right? Like it should be considered a thing to get you to where you need to get to. Knowing that you have to, in order to be a part of society, you have to make some, right? You have to have some of it, right? So I think that, if we think of money as the way you would think of your lawnmower, right?
A lawnmower. Okay, where you going with this?
No, but think of it, your grass got to get cut, so you need
okay.
you need that to cut your grass
Mm-hmm.
versus it being like a personal evaluation of how well you've done. So like the way that we talk about Elon Musk, right? They talk about him like, oh, he's a genius and all of this stuff because he's a billionaire, and it's like that is not
right.
I'm not going to take away the fact that he did where he got to, even though he's not that nice of a person. Trying to be politically correct.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I feel like we put such a high standard on having this money or having it that people are willing to do whatever to get it. They're willing to do whatever to get it. Mm-hmm. So that's my initial thoughts. What are yours?
So my thought is, and when I was younger, I always talk about when I was younger. I don't know. I feel so comfortable with y'all.
But I think at the core, if you think about it, we are images or a collection of all the things that we learned when we were younger.
Yeah.
So I mean, it makes sense.
So when I was younger, I always thought money was the be all, like
end all be all, right?
End all. Like, hey, if you got it, you're good. You don't have to worry about nothing, right? And as I got older, I spent a lot of time trying to get my career to a certain standpoint where I have more money, right? Get my living arrangements to a standpoint where I have just more things, right? And this is probably a little too personal, but one of the things I realized is that I can have all the nice things in the world, but if you don't have nobody to share it with, it don't matter. Yeah. like, oh, we got all these nice things, we got all these nice cars, but then you're just spending all the time by yourself. And that's like no family, no friends, no significant other. You got all the money, but you ain't got no love from nobody, right? Mm-hmm. That made me realize that yes, money does contribute to things, but I think life should be based on connections, building connections. Whether that's building a connection with your family, building connection with your friends, like the same stuff over and over again. Hey, pets, pets bring love into your heart, right? And so I know that people say like money can't buy happiness. It can buy a level of it, right? Like it can, don't get me wrong. Because I do argue with that it don't buy happiness. It does, but for only so long.
Well, I would argue, does it buy you actual happiness?
I think it buys a form of it, right? Like, so for example,
okay,
like for example,
I'll let you cook.
If I go out for the day, right, and I have a good time, you're happy. Mm-hmm. Everything in your world could be trash, but that moment that you're out with whoever you're out with,
you're happy,
and you're having a good time, you're happy, right? That doesn't necessarily mean that you're happy that whole week. Mm-hmm. So I try to bring that back to, okay, yes, money can buy a level of happiness, but it's not sustainable happiness, I think. Like, it's like, okay, yeah, well, I'm happy that I have a new car, right? But once you've had, and I think this is kind of where Will was alluding to with the cliff top. Like, yes, you can get to a certain point where you have all the fame, and you might have thought you were happy. But then you're not actually truly happy from an inside standpoint. And so that's what I mean with the money can buy you a level of it. But if you either a few things that have to happen. Either you get so much money where you realize, it actually you're not happy, or you start to see other things make you happier than actually money could have ever did.
Well, I think the one argument that I feel like I would give to the whole money thing is, I feel like we're told from a very young age that success is money, right? Like success is literally having money and being able to get everything you want. And I think it clouds a lot of the people's focus and direction because the focus is now getting money, not being happy. If the focus was being happy and not just the money, then you would see people make ultimately different decisions. Like I remember there was one point in our working experience where a bunch of people are like, yeah, we're gonna do this job. I think you even did the class, like a class for living.
Oh my god!
And they were like, yeah, no, you're gonna get so much money, blah blah blah. And it's like, I didn't do it because it's like, I don't necessarily have the drive to go into programming myself.
Okay.
And everybody looked at me like I was crazy. I'm like, I want to make a decision for myself. Like I want to do something I want to do, and like this stuff I'm doing here is way. If I could do this and make that same money, I would do it every day. So
yeah.
I think at the core we've just spent so much time talking about like what it means to just have money, and the reason why I don't think it brings you happiness is a lot of times it's externally motivated. So, well, I have this new car, so this means that people know that I have money, so that means that I'm valued as an individual, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of super rich people that are depressed, and you're like, well, if you're super rich, then why are you depressed?
You shouldn't be, right?
You have money. Why are you depressed?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that if we keep looking at money that way that we look at it, and the way that we have been, I feel like our environment has showed us like, okay, well, having the most money means that you'll be good. You realize that that's really not it. It's and I think that's what J. Cole was referencing. He's like, the drive to have money was his main thing, and then he realized it's more important. Your family's more important. Like having people you love and trust is more important. I don't think you'll take away the flexibility to do the thing you want to, but it's like money. More money, more problems, right? Like the more money you have, the more access you have to other issues that were caused by you having more money.
Right. But I do have a rebuttal.
Okay.
Because I've heard this before. You can't say that to the person who's getting kicked out of their house and they have a family of 3. You can't tell them money doesn't buy happiness when they can't feed their kids.
100%.
So
100%.
So I'm like, okay, think of like a homeless person who wish they had money to at least have a warm night in their own bed, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, then money does serve a purpose.
And that's what I said. It's a tool. It should be a tool. It should be used as a tool. It should not be a personal evaluation of how successful or how good of a person you are. I think that's the thing that we society has really pushed on us. And if you think about it, I love it. A lot of that is based on just impressing other people. Like I know people that are like in their 50s and 60s and they just want to make sure that they look fly so that other people could see them and they be like, oh yeah, you look like you're doing well, right?
Yeah.
And that part is that's anything you're externally motivated. I feel like you're in a place where you're at the whim of that, which is why you see like, rich people lose all their money and then they kill themselves because they can't imagine being poor anymore, right? And I think we're all in a space where we've been told this wonderful lie that by having more means that we'll be happier, and I don't think that's the case.
Well, then let's sum this up, right? What, in your mind now, at this very moment, for you, what does success look like for you?
I think my biggest thing for success is really operating in a space where I know that the stuff that I'm doing is actually valuable. It's helping other people. It's influencing, how me and my family operates because it gives us the flexibility to live the way we want to. And that's what success is. I mean, I think, that has always been tied to money. Like, oh, well, if you have millions of dollars, this would be a thing, you'll be able to pay off these things and it won't be an issue. But for me, my success is really living a life where I get to do the things that I actually enjoy doing versus like the things that I have to do just to survive. What about yourself?
More money. It's like, nah.
I was going to say, we just had this whole long conversation and that's what you got.
To be honest with you, success for me is learning to love myself. crazy, right? I think I spent a lot of time, and I might have brought this up to you. I spent a lot of time talking negative to myself, right?
Yeah, we look away.
About all types of things. Hey, MVP, you need to do better here. Hey, you disappointed this person. Hey, da 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 da. And some of those things are actually like not on me, it's on whoever that person is, perspective or environment or whatever they're going through, right? But I allow it to like beat myself up and like get borderline depressed about things about me, right? So one version of success for me would be able to, and I've been working on it, is to be able to talk to myself nicely way more often. And when I say talk to myself, I'm talking about everybody has that inner voice, right? Hey man, what are you doing here? You didn't charge your phone last night? And now all the power just randomly went off in the house, and now you don't have no phone. Just happened, right? Yeah. And I'm like, one of the ones, oh man, I'm supposed to put my wallet in a certain place every time I come in the house. I got somewhere I gotta go. I gotta be there in 5 minutes. I'm running late, and I can't find my wallet. I would destroy myself inside about how you need to do better with placing your wallet, right? That's just a light example. So I'm like, for me, success would be, hey, being able to, and I think Will's alluding to this too, like, hey, if you're good with yourself internally, I think things will be better in the long run for you. Say if you do get more money.
Yeah.
Say if you do get fame. Say if all those things were taken away from you. I think if you have the love for yourself to understand, hey, sometimes I'm going to drop the ball. Sometimes I'm going to be the man or the woman if you're a woman. Like, sometimes I'm going to be that person. Like, I'm going to have everything's going to be hitting on all cylinders. Sometimes, I might be a loser in something, right? I might take an L or two. And I think,
tough,
I think sometimes people, and when I say people, me, like, that happens, and they're just like, man, the world is over. I suck. I'm a loser. Just nobody should even talk to me. Like, if I can get to the point where, let's say 80% of the time, because right now I would say 80% of the time I'm talking negative to myself. Well, I'm 70. If I can get to the point 80%,
it's a high number.
It's a high number, right? Yeah. That's what I say is a problem. And I'm like, if I can get to 80% of like, hey, yo, you're doing great, MVP. Hey, you're a good person. Hey, you're you know what I'm saying? Like, you have the ability to express the love to other people, like. That would be success. Or bringing love to other people would be a version of success to me. Hey, my man's or my homegirl or whoever it is like down and out, and I'm able to bring that positive light into their darkness type thing, right? That would be success for me.
Yeah, and what's funny? I think that we need to do that exercise, and that's an exercise that we should be doing on some regular cadence, right? Whether it's a annual thing or biannually thing, like where you stop and say, what have I learned and where do I need to change so that I've recalibrated my success? I think that a lot of people spend their whole lives applying external success as their only driving force.
Yes.
And I think that leads to just depression. It leads to just a space where nothing ever makes you happy, right? And
that's a dangerous place to be in, where nothing makes you happy.
But it's a place where everything is. A lot of people are. No one's saying everybody.
Yeah.
I think that everyone has experienced it at some point.
Yes.
Where no matter what you did, it's like you said the right things to this person and they don't love you. You said the right things at work, you didn't get promoted.
Yeah.
You didn't get the money you were supposed to get, or you didn't.
Didn't get the loan for the house that you wanted to buy.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's funny. My family does this, and it's something that I do a lot of times. It's like it'll work out. Whatever it is, it'll work out, and it's like that's a hard thing to accept. Like, imagine if you just find out that you have like a life-altering disease.
Yes.
How can you tell me that it'll work out? And I'm like, yeah, but you don't know what your path will change. When people's careers change because they, made one bad decision and got fired, and they had a side business that they were doing that now they get to focus on, and now their whole life is different.
Yeah. And
you would never get to that because you were trying to operate in a space that wasn't for you. So, I think, that small bit of positive, what am I need to learn from this situation? And knowing that it will work out for the best in the long run is something. If those two things can be updated in your thinking, you'll be in a better place. Because if you live to talk about it another day, it worked out. But like, how
Did
can
you die though?
But no, but another perfect example of that is George Floyd, right?
Okay.
If you think about what he went through was terrible, right? But the change that happened that caused because of his death, and there's been multiple. I just use him because he's
everybody.
But if you think about the case of like these people that have died and the change that it's the little bit of change it's made, even in people looking at things slightly differently. For them, it didn't not feel like it worked out because they died, right?
Right.
But the impact that they had, and even the people who try to downplay the impact to this day, is crazy. But it shows that you made a change, and you may never see the change that you make in the life in the world, because you literally, in his case, who would have thought he went out the day going to the store? Who would have thought that they would have had people walking through the streets chanting Black Lives Matter as a result of him dying? Right? Like, so it's a hard thing. This is not a one size fit all kind of thing, right? I think we need to actively really consider as you move along. And this doesn't mean you change your goals to like lower your goals. But there should always be a question of like, at the base level, at the inception level, what is it that makes me happy? And that is what you should live towards. And be okay that it changes. At one point, like, I remember, for me, using a stupid analogy, I used to hate BlackBerry. I couldn't stand him.
Okay.
I couldn't stand him. And then I started using him, like, I loved him. I loved it. It was like my favorite phone. I had it. I changed my opinion.
Yeah.
And then they went up there to get the app. So now I hate it again. And it's like, that's okay. My experience changed based on my experience.
Yeah.
So that's an okay thing that I think that people also don't do. I think that people get caught up in the idea that I am a this now. And I'm going to live my life out like this. And I'm going to use one directly at you because it's a thing. But like, I'm a PlayStation person. I'll never use Xbox. I'm like,
Xbox who?
But the Xbox has features. Like, I was an Xbox person.
That's actually a great one. Because I'm ready to have a whole Xbox PlayStation conversation with you now.
I was an Xbox person. I literally, in this house, there's 4 Xboxes. And I started using my cousin's PlayStation. I'm like, yo, this shit is actually pretty dope. I literally, the controller was better for the first time ever. The PlayStation 4 or 5?
Yeah.
The PlayStation 5 controller.
It's a little bit.
It's better than all the other ones before.
That's what I like to hear.
A strong statement.
That's what. No.
But
I
it's
stand
true.
on that. I stand with
but
you.
But it's true. It's like, but the thing about it is, at the end of the day, is people make these hard lines about stuff, and they define a perfect idea of what you need to be and a perfect idea of what success is. It's like, if you're not a doctor, a lawyer, all of these things, and now it's weird to see it change because like a YouTuber, and all these like kids want to be YouTubers more than anything else, right?
Yeah.
If you don't get 1 million views on your thing, then you're not successful. My man, if you get 100 people to watch your stuff,
that is
a lot. Think about getting 100 people in this room.
Yeah.
The most people we've had in this area.
In this area right
in this area, the most people we had is like I think it was 50 people.
Okay.
And that was a big party. And there was a lot of people.
Yeah, that's a lot of people. So there's a lot of attention.
And so imagine if you double that to 100, right? And to sit there and think that, oh, that's minuscule. No, set your goals, constantly redefine success for you, and that's a constant thing. It's just like, it's not like you learn to tie your shoe and then that's it. It's like you constantly need to be doing more. But yeah, I mean, in conclusion, I think this is a larger thing. I think we're in a space where I think COVID forced us to start and sitting down and realize and reevaluating, especially our work lives.
Yeah.
That's why you hear things like work-life balance now. And I think that at the core of a lot of this stuff is, these conversations need to be had. We need to figure out whether or not this is something that we really want to do and, try it out. Be okay failing. That's a hard thing. Being okay failing. I think of like me personally with music, I've taken such a long hiatus from music that going back to music now feels like I'm a suck. I'm going to suck. I'm going to be better than starting from zero.
Okay.
But being okay, being terrible is a whole nother thing. Because you're like, well, no, I should already, based on my years of doing this, I should be better at this, right? Like, and I think, we just have these high standards that, a lot of times, like in that situation, it may stop you from even trying.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if we start looking at the world like we have a predefined amount of time left here. So if we're knowing that, we're all going to die at some point, how do we live a life that matches what we envisioned and not spend so much time seeking external validation, whether it's money,
material
whether it's
things,
fame, whether it's, that new Range Rover or that Bentley or whatever, right? And then the people will hear us talking about that. It's like, oh, you're saying that because you don't have it. I'm like, I might not have it now, but does it change who I am as a person? Like, are you a better person if you have a Bentley key?
Well, I mean, for those people who would say that, I would just reference to Will Smith.
Yeah.
Because he has all that
He
and
had
more.
everything.
He's telling you, hey, I think the essence of what he's saying is like stay grounded. Like I said, understand what's going on with yourself. I like how you find yourself.
Yeah.
Because you can get lost in all that stuff.
Yeah.
So
I think a lot of people just they're running the predefined rules that have been set up in their lives. Like,
yeah.
So, but yeah, this is a longer one. I think this is a conversation also to maybe have some guests at some point where we can really dive into like other people's motivations, because I feel like it is something that we don't ever stop and challenge. You don't ever stop and question. And it's like, I said, once again, to see somebody at the height of Will Smith's career have these questions, it brings you to a place where you're like, well, damn,
Yeah.
if he feels like that, then what's going on, right? So
yeah, I mean that makes me want to say, people listening and watching, would love to hear like what success looks like for you.
Yeah.
So definitely comment and let us know.
Yeah. So I mean, if you made it this far, this was a pretty long one. We appreciate you. I mean, I think it was worth it because this is a meaty subject. This is not one of those things where we've had very surface level conversation. This was not one of them. So definitely appreciate you. It's been Juxtaposed.
Yep.